Hi, this is Robert Chaen from the Afterlife channel. Today I'll be sharing with you my afterlife story about my father. My father passed away on Chinese New Year's Day on 19 February 2015, 12:05 a.m., just a little bit after the first day of Chinese New Year. So it was very auspicious. He was 93 years old, and in fact it was a celebration for Chinese to live more than 90 years old, so that even the funeral we actually would celebrate with red color. So my mom, who's like 8 years younger, she longed to see an afterlife sign from my dad, because when my grandmother died, that means my mother's mother died, she sent an afterlife sign to her on that day of the funeral. She put a joss stick in the altar, and that joss stick is a long joss stick, a thick one, and normally the joss stick will break, but that day, for the first time, the joss stick was almost a perfect circle, that it did not break at all. So my mom felt confident that that was a good afterlife sign from my grandmother. So my mom was longing for an afterlife sign from Dad, but she didn't get it for a whole year. A whole year later, on Chinese New Year's Eve, my brother Jimmy and my mom were in Hong Kong for the winter and spring, living with my third brother Andrew. So it's winter and it's Chinese New Year. So this New Year's Eve, it was like 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning, and you know, they come from a hot climate, Malaysia. So Chinese New Year is traditionally the coldest time of the year. So you know, it is cold. So my Jimmy wanted to go to the toilet. So sometimes she wants mom to accompany him, and you know, some basic things sometimes he can't do himself, or he likes that company. So my mom was cold and said, no, you just go and go to the toilet by yourself. And he came back in. So, but a few minutes after that, she heard a sound, cheat cheat, and she didn't think much about that. The very next day, which is Chinese New Year, exactly 1 year later, lunar year later, she tried to connect the afterlife dots. And this is what happens with afterlife sign. You need to connect. Sometimes one afterlife dot is not enough. You need 1 or 2 more to kind of figure out the message or the afterlife sign. So she felt that the first thing he noticed was my brother was very well tucked in bed, and which is very unusual. He doesn't know how to tuck himself properly, because he's not very good with his hands, and he felt that there was a visitation of my father. And also she then realized that my dad would daily, once, a few times a day, would tease my mom, chit, like while she's doing her normal chores, or cooking, or ironing, or watering the plant. She would just tease her and go like, chit, So it's kind of like the couple, kind of a sweet love talk. So he felt, oh, there's 2 signs to prove that my father visited Jimmy and mom. This year in Chinese New Year, 2017, I went back home, and my mother showed me a beautiful white moth with very beautiful markings that was outside the condo lobby area, or that 4th floor that she lived. So that moth has been there for nearly a week before I came back for Chinese New Year. And she felt it was like an afterlife sign, because it would come, but it would not go into the house. So I went and looked at it. It was very beautiful, but it was still didn't move. I blew gently at it, and it spread its wings, and then it kept still. So apparently this moth was around for 6 months. So it died like after a few weeks, but the body, the wings and the feelers were totally in contact for 6 months. The moth ended up somewhere in the gated doorway of a neighbor, and it stayed there. You can actually see it at the doorway. It was empty for 6 months, and that moth was there for 6 months. So my mom, you know, she throw away the rubbish. She would see that moth and feel you know, that like she's being cared for by a guardian angel, which is my father. So 6 months later, the neighbors came back, and that moth was swept away. So there are many afterlife signs. It can be in the form of insects or birds or bats or anything. That usually they're very significant. It's not the usual type, or beetles. And more important, you need to observe the movement, because the movement may actually tell you a bit of what it is, and it may be telling you something. So if you have stories to tell about the afterlife or afterlife signs, subscribe to our channel or send us a private message, and we'll hear from your stories.